Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. This week, Toyota has kind of sent me the all-new 2025 Crown Signia Limited to test and review. Now, believe it or not, this is a vehicle that I've had a few different opportunities to be hands-on with, all the way back at the Mama Spring Rally, as well as just last week at the Fall Fest, as well as Chicago Drives Electric event. And I've kind of purposely shied away just a little bit of this vehicle because I wanted to gain my first understanding and impressions during a regular week-long review. And thankfully this week I've had the opportunity to do so. Now, this vehicle, upon first impressions, I absolutely love the styling as well as the overall packaging, given the fact that it is more of a wagon or a lifted wagon versus that of a traditional regular SUV. So I really first applaud Toyota for offering a vehicle like this, of course with that same powertrain as the regular Crown hybrid sedan. Now, over the last week or so with this vehicle, I've certainly had many things to like about it, but there's also been a couple of things that I don't necessarily love about it, some of which hopefully can be addressed maybe with a mid-cycle refresh or just model year changes, and other things might require a little bit more of a reworking to add those features inside this vehicle. So without further ado, let's not waste your time, get into my list of dedicated likes and dislikes with the all-new 2025 Crown Signia. So starting out with my list of likes with the Crown Signia, the first one absolutely has to be the styling as well as the package that this vehicle has to offer. Now you might be wondering, what does Signia mean? Well, Signia essentially is going to be the wagon version of the normal Crown hybrid sedan. And I think this looks absolutely phenomenal. Isn't quite as polarizing as that of the normal Crown, especially with the two-tone paint that you can get on those higher trim levels. And I think this vehicle, especially in the limited trim level as seen here, looks phenomenal. It borrows a lot of the same styling and design, especially at the front of the vehicle, as the normal Crown, the updated Prius, and some of the other Toyota vehicles in the market. But once you see that long roof line, a little bit lower than that of a traditional SUV, more of a wagon type of stance, and then towards the rear three-quarter view of this vehicle, I just think they did an absolutely fantastic job, not going over the top by any means, keeping a more traditional wagon type of look to it, while also maintaining a substantial amount of ground clearance and, wheel articulation for those that might want to take it a little bit farther off the beaten path, although that is definitely not the target audience of this vehicle. But it really just has a great aesthetic, great stance, and I love the overall body type that this vehicle is. Now, my second like here with the Crown Signia is a little bit of an interesting one, but it has to do with the LED lighting around the entire vehicle, not just specific items normally like the headlight performance. Now, of course, the LED headlights are quite good on this vehicle. It has the LED running lights and turn signals in this separate housing up front. But when you start to look at the rest of the vehicle, especially at nighttime, and look at all of the functional aspects that it has both on the exterior and interior, it is very, very impressive. So this one is the limited again with the optional technology package, which adds additional puddle lighting on the sides of the vehicle. So all four doors will have puddle lighting. Of course, you have the turn signal integration and then the tail lights out back. But on the inside of the vehicle, you have LED lighting for the cup holders, across the dashboard, across the lower floor on both the first and second row to illuminate the floorboards at nighttime. Then you look in the cargo area, you have the side lighting that illuminates the cargo area, and then a light specifically on the deck lid that, when up in its vertical position, will illuminate the ground directly behind the vehicle. So again, that provides a little bit of accent as well as puddle lighting on the actual ground itself, so you can basically see around most aspects of this vehicle quite well. So I really like the details that Toyota did with this vehicle in terms of its lighting. Now, sure, would it be nice to have a little bit of ambient LED color changing lighting on the inside? Sure, but I think the white accent lighting that they chose to do, both for aesthetics as well as functional reasons, are extremely good. So that brings me to my third like with the Crown Signia, and that has to be the comfort of this vehicle. Now, going into this week with the Crown Signia, I thought it was going to be, obviously a very comfortable vehicle, but it's even a little bit more so than I thought initially going into it. This is a very soft riding vehicle, has a fair amount of body roll to it, but I think that helps having a slightly lower roof line, which translates into a slightly lower center of gravity. but this vehicle is certainly tuned more for the comfort side of things versus that of the performance. Like, it doesn't offer the Turbo Max powertrain that you can get in the Platinum Crown Sedan. I think that is honestly a big miss and one of my more dislikes with this vehicle. But if you're looking for a very comfortable daily driver that is very fuel efficient, gets into the mid to upper 30 mpg range depending on the model and of course how you drive the vehicle, this is certainly going to fit the bill. And you know, it is obviously one of the things that I like about it, but at the same time, me being an enthusiast, would like to see maybe a performance version or, you know, a Turbo Max version of this vehicle that offers just a little bit more sporty dynamics on a daily basis. But the comfort aspect certainly off the charts with the Crown Signia. Now, my next like with the Crown Signia is actually a very interesting one, and it has to do with the fact that all 4 door handles on this vehicle have the proximity, entry, and lock sensors built into them. So if you lock the vehicle simply by tapping this little touchpad, of course it will lock the vehicle with the proximity key on you, and then you can grab any of the door handles on the vehicle. It will simply unlock by just grabbing them. But there's one additional benefit of having all 4 door handles have this functionality, and I do want to demonstrate for you guys. So say you're getting out of the vehicle after shutting it off. So I'm simply exiting the vehicle, you know, walking towards the rear of the vehicle. You can actually touch the top of the rear door handle here, and that will simply lock the entire vehicle, and you can continue on walking towards the back of the vehicle without having to kind of turn around and grab the driver's side door handle and then go ahead and head in this direction. Now, obviously that's a fairly limited use case as to, you know, you have to be walking towards the back of the vehicle, but chances are, I think you're walking backwards more than forwards pretty often when you're, you know, walking away and locking the vehicle. So again, very small detail like about this vehicle, but all 4 door handles do have the proximity, entry, and lock functionality, which again, in that specific use case is actually very nice and handy to have. And my last like with the Crown Signia has to do with the fact that it has a power retractable interior shade over the actual fixed panoramic sunroof. Now you might be wondering, well, why is this necessarily alike? Don't most vehicles out there with sunroofs or fixed glass roofs have a power shade? No, that is not the case anymore. If you guys follow along here on the channel, vehicles such as the Silverado EV RST with the tinted fixed glass roof do not have a power shade. And that is something that honestly, until you live with it for a period of time, you don't actually realize how big of a deal not having that shade is. So even though the sunroof is just a fixed type roof, it does not open or vent or anything like that. The fact that Toyota still included a power shade for those times that it's extremely hot outside, you know, sun is beaming inside of the cabin, ultimately heating up a little bit. I think I really appreciate the fact that it has this, and it helps with noise just a little bit out on the interstate. Obviously having any more material between you and that, you know, outside glass helps. So again, small positive, but ultimately a fairly big deal if you buy this vehicle, live in, you know, a warmer climate and it gets extremely hot during those summer months. So I think that's going to do it here for my list of likes with the Crown Signia. Now let's get into the things that I don't love so much about it, and hopefully a couple of these can be addressed over the next several model years. So I think my first dislike with the Crown Signia has to be the fact that Toyota did not include tinted windows for the second row and of course the cargo area on this vehicle. Now, most glass these days is going to be a solar type of glass that has some level of tint, typically in the 70% range or so, and it helps keep out those UV rays that, you know, obviously fade plastics and damage other aspects, but it doesn't necessarily do a, you know, great job of rejecting all of the heat that really comes inside the vehicle. Now, this is a fairly large vehicle, as you can see on the side profile, so I really wish Toyota would have decided to tint the second row as well as the cargo area of this vehicle, not only for privacy reasons. It does have a retractable privacy cover at the back of the vehicle, but just to keep a little bit more heat out of the vehicle and for those additional privacy benefits that you do get. So if I were to buy one of these vehicles, I would probably have the entire thing tinted, you know, in whatever is legal in the state that you are going to be living in and driving this vehicle, which typically here in Illinois is right around 35%. So obviously I think that would make it look more appealing from a curb appeal standpoint, but would be extremely functional as well, given that solar heat that it would reject. Now, my second dislike with the Crown Signia is a very interesting one, and that's the fact that there is no export power or power outlets in the cargo area or even in the second row in this vehicle. So you might be, expecting most vehicles these days to have maybe some sort of 12-volt power outlet in the cargo area and or the second row, especially if it's a wagon, a hatchback, or an SUV. That is pretty common practice. But unfortunately, here at the Crown Signia, I do not see a single power outlet in the cargo area, and the only thing found in the second row is two USB-C charge ports. Now, in the second row, I don't think it's as big of a deal. USB is typically enough power for the average user out there. But when it comes to the fact that this is a hybrid vehicle and it's a wagon slash hatchback slash SUV at the end of the day, and it does not have a 12 volt at minimum, nor a 120 volt outlet at the back of the vehicle, I think that is a big miss on Toyota for not offering that. So I think this is a fairly reasonable size fix, especially adding maybe just a 12 volt by itself at the back of the vehicle for those people that want to tailgate, use maybe powered coolers or other low power accessories at the back of the vehicle. I think that would be extremely useful. And heck, if you fold these second row seats down, want to do some camping or anything like that, because this vehicle is such a sizable interior space, it obviously would be nice to have additional power. So a little bit unfortunate that doesn't have either of those things here in the cargo area, and again, hopefully something that they can address over the coming years. Now, my next dislike with the Crown Signia has to do with the fact that neither of the door mounted side mirrors are going to be auto dimming. Now, this vehicle tops just over the $51,000 price point as equipped with the limited trim and the additional technology package. So it does have a digital rear camera mirror that is mounted inside of the glass on the hatch, which is obviously going to be an auto dimming slash digital type depending on how you use that mirror. So the inside is set. But I noticed while driving at nighttime, it would be nice to at least at a minimum have a driver's side auto dimming mirror. But I think at this price point and in this type of vehicle, it would be nice to have all three mirrors as the available auto dimming feature, just to kind of make it a more well-rounded experience when driving at night. Because if you ever have auto dimming side mirrors and drive a vehicle without them, you kind of know what I'm talking about and how big of a deal it is. But ultimately, it depends just how much driving you are doing at nighttime as to how much it may actually impact your perspective not having that feature. Now, my next dislike with the Crown Signia really at the end of the day isn't a huge dislike, but more of a slight disappointment. And that's the fact that Toyota did not offer the Turbo Max hybrid powertrain here in the Signia vehicle, where it is offered in the top platinum trim level of the normal Crown sedan. So under the hood of this vehicle, you're going to find the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine paired to an electric motor, of course that battery pack, and a CVT transmission, all going out through an all-wheel drive system. So this is a reasonable output. It's 240 horsepower combined, and I assume a little bit of additional torque with that electric motor. So it is the same exact base powertrain found in the Crown Hybrid, and the vehicle gets around, adequately when in terms of performance, straight line speed, and certainly this engine and powertrain configuration is targeted more towards fuel efficiency than performance. But I have to say, if the Turbo Max powertrain was offered here inside of this vehicle, I think it would be an absolutely blast to drive. And in this body form factor in a wagon type of vehicle, it would border on a performance, wagon at the end of the day. And I think would take the experience even higher than it already is. So if Toyota, you're watching this, I would love to see the Turbo Max in a more performance-oriented Crown Signia offered. It doesn't have to be, full on a GR spec of this vehicle, because obviously that's probably not feasible. But if you added some sport tune suspension, made it just a hair stiffer, really dialed in the performance of the Turbo Max powertrain, I think that would be an absolutely, blast to drive. And I think it would actually sell, reasonably well out there. But you guys will have to let me know in the comment section below. Do you want to see a more performance-oriented version of the Crown Signia, or do you think this base 2.5 liter hybrid powertrain is adequate for the average buyer? Now, my final dislike with this vehicle is a very interesting one, and one that I picked up on fairly quickly after having this vehicle, and that's the fact that the door armrests are not exactly level with that of the center console armrest. So if you've driven enough different vehicles, maybe you've come across one or two out there that have this issue that might impact your overall comfort. Now, this is not a deal breaker by any means. It's just something that you notice ever so slightly, especially on those longer interstate types of road trips where you're not actually putting a ton of input into the steering wheel and you're using both armrests simultaneously. So the center console in this vehicle is just a touch higher. I'm not exactly sure how much higher it is than that of the door armrest, but essentially, like I said, if you have both elbows resting on either one simultaneously, you'll feel that the door armrest is just a hair lower than that of the center console. So, ultimately at the end of the day, it'll be up to you to decide whether or not that's at all even close to a deal breaker. I don't think it is. Both surfaces are very well padded, but it would be nice to have Toyota, address the door by raising it up just a little bit to make it extremely close or identical in height to that of the center console lid. And I think it would improve overall comfort of the vehicle even further because this vehicle is already extremely comfortable, but I think this would improve it just that much more. Now, another small dislike, or might not be so small depending on what the issue is with wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay inside this vehicle, specifically me using Android Auto. The vehicle almost always has come up with a connection error upon starting it and getting in for the first time. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in here, and right there you can see connection interrupted, Wi-Fi connection with device interrupted, manage connections in device settings. Now this has come up, I would say 98% of the time I've got in and started the vehicle, with my phone inside. It has worked flawlessly, I would say maybe 2 or 3 times upon starting it, and the rest of the times I have to go into devices, my actual phone, and then use Android Auto in the settings, and then it will actually connect and use wireless Android Auto. Again, I have actually run into this issue in some other Toyota and Lexus products running this new latest software and head unit design, but the majority of them have worked without issues. So I'm not exactly sure why, 1 or 2 vehicles within, my week testing does not work flawlessly with wireless Android Auto, but the Crown Signia unfortunately was one of those vehicles, and it has not been a reliable experience using this, like I said, with my Pixel 9 Pro. So I think that's going to do it here for my full list of dedicated likes and dislikes with the all-new 2025 Toyota Crown Signia. Now I want to give a huge thanks to Toyota for providing this vehicle for me to test and review for you guys. You guys will have to let me know your thoughts and opinions on my likes and dislikes and the vehicle down in the comment section below. Do you agree, disagree, want to add additional items that you believe should be on this list on either side of things? And do you own one of these vehicles or even the standard Crown, and how has your ownership experience been? I think as a whole, extremely positive in terms of the powertrain, the overall body style that it is, the wagon format that I mentioned throughout this video, the packaging, the feature set, and I think the value is at the end of the day pretty solid as well at just over $51,000 fully loaded. Everything that you can equip on this vehicle I think is very reasonable given the efficiency and the utility that this vehicle has to offer. But at the end of the day, it'll be up to you guys to decide whether or not you agree or disagree with that. If you guys enjoyed this video and or found something helpful, make sure to hit that like button below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I want to see all of your comments and feedback on the vehicle and or the video down in the comment section below as well. As always, I appreciate continued support here on the channel. If you guys want to support these videos even further, consider becoming a channel member where we get early access to the majority of videos that I do post, as well as the Amazon affiliate link down in the description below, where you simply click on that link before making a purchase and I get a very small referral bonus. But as always, thanks to Toyota for sending this vehicle out for me to test, and you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.